So after numerous delays and years of waiting for James Cameron's Avatar 2, the year has finally come when we will be seeing the long-awaited sequel to one of the biggest films of all time. And not just one of, it still holds the record for being the biggest worldwide box office grosser in history if you put aside inflation. But there are multiple reasons which go alongside this in setting up a sequel that has the potential to be big like the first one. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the reasons why I personally believe that Avatar 2 will be the biggest film of the year, despite some underestimating the sequel of the biggest box office hit of all time. But before I get into it, if you want to keep up to date on any of my content surrounding the Avatar sequels and other sci-fi series such as Denis Villeneuve's Dune, then don't forget to support this video by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. Also, feel free to check me out on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Instagram at Cortex Videos, which is all linked in the description below. But without further ado, let's dive into the reasons why Avatar 2 will be the biggest film of the year. So as the years have passed, many people online seem to be ready to write off Avatar 2, whether it be based on its box office potential or the quality of the film itself. Now, from a quality perspective, I quite enjoyed the first Avatar, but I do agree that from a storytelling one, it wasn't James Cameron's strongest work. Terminator 2, Aliens, True Lies, The Abyss, and Titanic are all films that I consider to be stronger pieces of storytelling from the filmmaker. But that doesn't mean that I don't think the first Avatar was good, because at the time I did quite enjoy the story, even though it was an amalgamation of other films, and there was a lot of technological aspects that really boasted the film it was. And when it comes to box office, I think that is a big factor that many are underestimating too. In my opinion, while Avatar 2 probably won't make the $2.8 billion that the first film made, I do think it is guaranteed to be a box office success, and the question that people should be asking is not whether it's going to do well, but actually how well. And even with that being a question, right now it still looks like from a box office perspective that it's very likely going to be the biggest film of the year. The first Avatar broke numerous records after its release, and it led to director James Cameron passing a deal to make 4 new films, and the first of these sequels has actually followed a similar set of events that the original Avatar faced, ultimately contributing to similar feelings back in 2009. James Cameron had originally started work on the original Avatar back in the early 90s, planning to release it after Titanic, which of course went on to be the highest grossing film of all time back when that was released. He delayed Avatar due to not having the required technology available to create his vision, and even though it took him a hell of a long time to finally get it all together, the outcome was a visually groundbreaking feature that, following Titanic, became the next record-breaking film. So in the space of 2 decades, James Cameron took 2 films to the #1 highest grossing of all time, and they were 12 years apart. Avatar was of course then nominated for 9 Oscars, winning 3 of them, and the film was hailed for its revolutionary digital techniques and visual effects. He's a master of using digital technology and making it look as real and as polished as it can be for the time that a film releases in. So imagine him following a similar pattern of delays and a longer release period following his last film, what he could achieve with sequels over a decade after the last Avatar film released. And even without a trailer, which is rumoured to be releasing this May in front of Doctor Strange 2, whether it's negative or positive, people are talking about an Avatar movie years and years later. To this very day, the original Avatar has remained the highest grossing movie of all time for more than a decade. Despite how many are underestimating the sequel at the box office or based on how good it will be, Avatar 2 has great potential to be another box office success, following how consistent and talked about the previous film was. After releasing in December 2009, Avatar broke many records, including becoming the highest grossing film globally in 3D and IMAX, and was at the top of the charts for 7 weeks running. These numbers were unheard of in the winter months, let alone the big box office films that come out in the summertime, and it just kept on going and going. Some of my older relatives who don't particularly follow film as much as I do have asked me multiple times, when is Avatar 2 coming out? And I think that is telling because it shows how Avatar has spoken to all audiences. It's a blockbuster that very much seems like it's aimed at the younger age groups, but actually with Cameron and the stories he tells, they clearly fascinate those in all age types. And for people to even speak about a film like this and anticipate the next one over a decade afterwards, and I'm talking about the older generations, imagine a good portion of people who watched the original plus the younger audiences who may be fascinated by it today, and I think you're in for some huge results. Avatar of course maintained its highest grossing title from 2010 to 2019, at which point Avengers Endgame became the new number one in box office earnings. But then in 2021, 11 years after its release, Avatar gained back its title when the movie was re-released in China. And not to mention that adjusted for inflation, Avatar is currently the second highest grossing movie of all time after Gone with the Wind. That's crazy, and to think people are saying that no one's interested in this film about blue people anymore is quite laughable to me. Now, I'm not saying that they are wrong or anything, and for all we know, Avatar might struggle to make $1 billion. But I do think it's silly to completely underestimate the director that with 2 films running has set some of the biggest records at the box office of all time. And he did that with a space of 12 years between them. Avatar 2 is a sequel to the biggest of those 2 highlighted films, and it's releasing in the same sort of time frame that Avatar and Titanic had originally between each other. After all, there's also going to be a huge push on what will make people want to see this new Avatar film. And we know that one of those factors is going to be what really enticed people originally about the first one, and that is the new groundbreaking technology. James Cameron intended for Avatar to be more than just a movie, but a one-of-a-kind theatrical event experience that brought people in to witness something they hadn't seen before. In achieving that, there was new technology developed with motion capture animation to capture detailed facial expressions and new systems to make larger environments have deeper and more textured CGI components. It was groundbreaking in that Cameron wanted the CGI to look as realistic as it could be and not utilize the modern approach of throwing actors in front of a green screen with subjects appearing in front of locations that look flatter and more unrealistic in comparison. It raised the bar for how technology and mostly digital environments in filmmaking could look and serve as part of the narrative, which Pandora and the Na'vi did in the first Avatar film. The film also made the 3D format popular again and inspired many other films to release in 3D in the following years, and televisions would also try to feature the technology more too. Now, while 3D has become outdated and it's not as popular today, that was mainly because not much other films used the technology as correctly as Cameron did. He knew and discovered how to really produce a great 3D image using the correct colours, and it resulted in something that still looks visually incredible today. But yes, not much other filmmakers had really polished this technology or upped it following Avatar. Now, I don't think 3D is going to be the form of technology this time around, and I believe that Cameron would want to do something different to really get people talking in a new way about these sequels. Just like with the original Avatar, Cameron himself has claimed that he has invented new technologies for Avatar 2 to forever change the way movies are made. And since much of Avatar 2 will take place underwater, with the subheading of the film currently titled as The Way of Water, the filmmaker has apparently designed underwater motion capture technology that requires the actors to be submerged in huge tanks that mimic ocean currents. Then visual effects crews have to animate the actors' faces while they are underwater. Cameron has explained that there is a difference between the method he's using on Avatar 2 and the one that is traditionally used to film underwater scenes, which suspends actors in the air on wires. So it's clear that he's bringing a new form of technology with these films that he hopes can capture the imagination and build the hype in a similar way that technology was groundbreaking with the original film. And again, just think about what one of the masters of digital filmmaking could do with a sequel to the biggest film of all time releasing over 13 years later. What I will continue to say is, don't underestimate James Cameron. In the many years between the first film and Avatar 2, people's opinions on the franchise have of course changed. There has been too much time in between, and it's a huge task to try and make audiences care about a project that hasn't been fresh for over a decade. The advances in CGI and the other technological innovations it pushed forward have become standard for some movie franchises, even though I'd personally argue that they haven't been done as successfully in many instances. But it does become harder to maintain the interest in an Avatar sequel, especially when you consider that the first film wrapped up all of its central story beats. Then again, it's clear that over the decades which this filmmaker has been crafting films, he has showcased that he truly cares about what he's making, with an extended filmography to prove it. For someone who waits decades to make a movie as stunning as it can be, and then still produce the highest grossers of all time, just tells us that this is a director who can continuously bring success. Producing many films that have remained beloved and stood the test of time, whether it be Aliens, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, or Titanic, he knows how to really create an epic for that time period. Many critics were proved wrong about the first Avatar, and if the sequel is anything like the first one and has a stronger story that can build a saga out in this very expandable world, then it has the potential to be another huge hit with general audiences. Do I think it can make $2.8 billion like the first one? No, but I do think it has a great chance of making $2 billion, and I would definitely put my cards on the table for that number when all is said and done. And if that happens and people like it, the sequels will only go up from there. It is going to be interesting to see, but for me, James Cameron is the type of filmmaker that has proven he can make huge box office hits decades apart and really do something groundbreaking with each feature he makes, whether that's in technology or the type of story he's telling. The trailer will of course release this May, and only time will tell if he has pulled it off yet again. I think he will, and I think people online are underestimating the box office power of Avatar with general audiences. But we shall soon see, and I think the response to that first trailer is definitely going to be a big indicator. But that was my video discussing why I think Avatar 2 has the potential to bring in huge record-breaking numbers, which follow those that the first film set over a decade ago. Again, while I don't think that Avatar 2 will make $2.8 billion like the first film did in 2009, I still think that it's going to be pretty huge, and I also think that many people online are underestimating its potential and have previously with director James Cameron. I think it has the opportunity of hitting the $2 billion mark if this film is good, and for it to be the same sort of hit, it needs the longevity that the first film was able to pull off. Technology is of course a big factor like with the first one, but with this being the start of 4 planned sequels, it suggests to me that Cameron has a much bigger and interesting story planned this time around. He's delivered timeless ones over and over again, so I wouldn't be surprised if we got a much better narrative with the Avatar sequels. We'll have to see, but I honestly think that Avatar 2 can be groundbreaking for many different reasons, and this filmmaker and saga shouldn't be underestimated if history tells us anything. But let me know down below in the comment section how well you think Avatar 2 can perform at the worldwide box office, alongside whether you are personally excited for what James Cameron will do in the sequels. For much more videos and news on James Cameron's Avatar films and upcoming sci-fi projects, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like, rating, and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it, I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.